Okay, Robert, welcome.
Thank you.
This video is obviously a piece of content that's part of the CCO content strategy. It's going to be appearing in CCO. So it'd be really good if you could mention Content Marketing World and CCO and any other orange merchandise that we're trying to shift at the moment, just because, you know, it's marketing as well as content. Is that okay for you?
Well, no. I think well played, sir. Well played. Yeah, the whole point of content marketing and what we want to do is to create some value. And so the last thing we want to do is simply describe the value, although it is quite lovely, our merchandise. But,
I think the merchandise adds value.
It does, but not in this context. That's the key.
So if we're not going to plug product here, let's talk about context, because that's what you've written about for the latest issue of the magazine, and particularly how it relates to audience trust.
Yeah.
So you've reframed the challenge of right place, right time content that we all sort of struggle with as not necessarily about providing the right information at the right time,
right,
but tapping into the right emotion at the right time.
That's right.
So why does emotion trump fact?
Well, I mean, I think you can look at the mainstream news and sort of answer that question for yourself these days. But the idea is that as marketers, as communicators, as storytellers, our job is to change a belief, right? Now, changing a belief may be having someone come to the conclusion that we're going to be the best solution for them. It may be that we're trustworthy. It may be that we're trying to retain them as a relationship that they've done something with us previously. The key is that we're changing some sort of belief. That's our whole job as marketers. Facts don't do that. Facts don't change beliefs. They simply don't. We need stories. We need a narrative. We need emotions to be able to believe in something. Seth Godin says this really well. He says, you almost certainly believe things to be true that are not factually accurate. There are certainly innumerable, as I mentioned, the mainstream news being a great example of this. The point being, the narrative that we tell ourselves, the beliefs that we hold, are what are important for us to appeal to. Thus, as marketers, as communicators, our main job is to appeal to the emotions. Facts, yes, but truth, more importantly, getting to the truth, the changing of a belief, is really the core of what it is we do.
So, when trying to go to a boss, particularly in B2B, who are more likely to be conservative about this kind of stuff,
sure,
they would say, but the facts are the truth. How do you win that argument?
Because they're not. The facts are not the truth. The facts are the facts. And the facts are not what you compete on when you're looking even in a B2B situation. You are competing on what people believe about the facts. And so even if I have all of the facts in the world, if nobody cares, this is the classic when Homer Simpson says, "Oh honey, just because I understand doesn't mean I care."
Yes.
And so the idea here is that it doesn't matter how many facts you have. If you can't change a belief with those facts, then you'll lose every time. Thus, we have to present the facts in a way that makes people care, that makes people have emotion, that makes people believe.
And that relies on context, because those facts are going to mean different things depending on the context of the person.
Right.
Not of the brand or the marketer, but of the person who's reading that.
It's precisely right. It's precisely right. I can deliver you exactly the right message at the wrong time and have you ignore it. I can deliver you the wrong message at the right time and you'll ignore it. And if I deliver you even the right message at the right time, if I don't appeal to exactly the context you're looking in, what you're looking for, it's still not going to matter, right? In other words, I may be looking for a car. It's no shortage of car advertisements that I see every single day. That does not mean that I'm going to care about your car commercial.
Yes, exactly.
Even if you deliver me all the facts. You have to do it in the context of what it is that I'm searching for at the time, or what it is that I'm looking to, the belief I'm looking to get changed. That's what's going to convince me to look at your particular brand or your particular content or whatever it is you're trying to deliver to me.
So I'm willing to bet if we went back to issue 1 of CCO, which is 2011.
Wow.
I know. Or time warped our way back to the first Content Marketing World, which was the same year. There would have been talk about the challenge of marketers faced with silos It's the same thing every year. We talk
Yes.
about
Yeah.
silos and why they fracture the process and they cause a bad customer experience and all the rest of it. Has that got any better?
A little bit, not a lot. The challenge that has happened is that in many cases what we see is the further fracturing and stratification of marketing across an ever more granular buyer's journey. And what I mean by that is, it used to be marketing was siloed off from sales and perhaps PR or corporate communications, and certainly things like legal and IT and all of those kinds of things. And those were the silos that we talked about.
Yeah.
But over the last 10 years, as digital, social, and content have become more of the norm, well, now we have content teams, brand teams, social CRM teams, social media expert teams, top of the funnel teams, bottom of the funnel teams, mid funnel teams, PR teams that are looking at getting brand journal, we have further segmented and now we're siloed even from ourselves because we're handling ever smaller strata of the buyer's journey in each team. And weirdly what that does is that it has us competing with ourselves for the eyeballs and attention of the audiences. It's not uncommon for me to talk to a business where they have a website and a blog and an email newsletter, and they don't talk to each other. And they not only don't talk to each other, but they're actually competing for the attention. Somebody from the blog team goes to the web team and says, can I have a link to the blog? And they say no, because then my users will go over and visit you.
Yeah.
We're on the same team,
yes.
right? It's like you can't, and so it has gotten a little better in the sense that businesses have started to recognize this challenge and started to address it, and you're starting to see a lot more de-siloification, if that's even a word, of marketing, but we're a long way from that becoming normal.
And one of the reasons that you mentioned for that in the article is the proliferation of content technology.
Of course.
Now, which, and I think what you just described about these now even more segmented silos is partly a result too of trying to solve problems but with the technology and so on, but in a sense actually making things more complicated as a result.
Yes.
So is this like a cognitive dissonance that marketers are struggling with? Is like, we're trying to make things better and simpler, but we're doing it by making things harder and more complicated.
That's right, and that's a great way to put it. And what I think you're seeing is this: it's the sort of symptomatic results of the do more with less.
Yes.
Because what's happened is that in that effort to do more with less, we start letting technology drive our strategy. We start letting the technology determine what it is we want to do next. And so thus, marketing strategy, social strategy, content strategy becomes, what does the tech do?
Yeah.
Because if I can do it, then I can work it.
Yeah.
Instead of, how can we bring all of these things together and then figure out the technology that we need? It's not uncommon for me to visit with businesses that have 3, 4, 5, 10 CMS systems. Why? Because it's just simply easier for one of those stratified groups to go get WordPress or to go buy a mid-level content management system than it is for them to figure out how to integrate into the big mothership CMS. It's just easier because it's an easier talk.
It becomes like shadow IT, where it's rather than going through the processes, I'm just going to get that now, or I'm going to use this app that's my favorite.
That's right.
And suddenly the rest of the team is like,
yeah, and why? And now why? And then 18 months or 2 years or 5 years later, we're wondering why we have so much technology silos, because basically marketing, the different silos within the stratification have all run amok and gone and put some new analytics system, some new workflow system, some new marketing automation, some new email system on their credit card, and we've got 5 different databases and 18 different segmentations and all of those things, and it's just, instead of just taking a step back and saying, okay, how do we work together as a team and figure out what it is we're trying to do with a customer experience from beginning to end, and then figure out which technology we really need to drive that strategy, because it may be exactly what we have, or maybe something completely different that we don't have, or it may be a simple addition of some small thing that we need to fill a gap.
So what's your silver bullet then? Go on, give us 10 words or less, and I know you can't, to actually solve that.
I will say this, you're right, it is more than 10 words. The key is that and this is going to tip my hand, obviously, in terms of my bias, but But the key is content is at the heart of all business communication, and we don't treat it as such. I believe that content should have the same approach as accounting, as legal, as marketing, as sales. It's the thing that the business produces more of than anything else, including the product it makes, and yet we still don't have a strategic function for it in the business. And when I say it should be at the same level as accounting, that means setting standards, it means setting guidelines, it means getting teams to work in a common, standardized way, it means moving content to a strategic function in the business so that we start to make better decisions about the way that that works. You know, nobody goes, you know, I think I'll figure out and make my own template for expense reports. And nobody goes, you know, I think maybe I'll spend a little more money on my PO system and not even bother figuring out what procurement really needs. No, of course not. You wouldn't ever do that because accounting and procurement handle those things as a strategic
and they would
function.
kick your butt.
Of course, because we care. And that's the key, is that if we can get to the point where we care about content as communication, as a central function of what it is we do in today's marketing landscape, then we can take the first step to saying, great, now we can get a team and a governance strategy and a process and technology to guide all of that.
That's a perfect way to wrap this up. Thank you very much, Robert.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.